All right, today we're going to work with mixing color, and I sent out this, and so we're going to work with this today. And after playing with mixing colors, we will work with some techniques and textures and things. We kind of started with some brush work last week. Anybody get to practice any? Ooh.
Do my homework.
Oh, okay, I'm going to.
Just around.
Ba-ding. All right, any questions from last week? Anything specific that can help others? You get the boards, good. These are Pam's boards, and we just put them down there after.
Won't the water make them pucker up?
Eventually.
Okay.
But it's not going to go all the way through, all the way. Chris found a great board. I think it's some sort of masonite drawing board or something. And this does have a coating on one side.
Yeah, I got one.
She found it in the garage.
We're all going to her house.
It's always a plus.
And it started to pucker up from the moisture, and I sprayed it with clear varnish. So it's
Yeah,
haven't tried it since.
anything that can.
It's like $12, 11 something at Cheap Joe's.
Yeah, like a clipboard like this.
You can see that.
Yeah, you can spray it, or you can do a thin coat of acrylic paint or something. I like to, when I'm painting my drawing boards, I'll do it with a black matte acrylic to seal it and seal around the edges too. Yeah. But I used my drawing boards. I used to have one side for drawing and pastel, and I'd use the back side to do my watercolor.
That's cool.
Because the clips would keep it up a little bit. Yeah.
That's neat. That's very cool.
Yeah, anything like that.
So how much water should we be putting in to loosen up the paint? Because
How
I just put
much?
a couple drops, but it's like still
That's
gunky.
good. Enough so it looks like it's softening the paint. See that purple there?
Yeah.
Maybe just a little dribble on this side.
Okay.
Just enough so it's softening the paints. Yeah. You don't want to give it too much water. These all look good. And keep an eye on them because they will dry. Donnie, you go back there. You want me to come check your paints?
No, it's okay. I did too much water. I'm clearly.
I'm seeing in that case, you can take the corner of a paper towel and just touch the water to soak it up.
Okay, now I'm assuming the wash is a water wash, right? Just to moisten the paper,
We will, yeah.
but not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Let me think. Again, the brain is not working really fast this morning.
Hey, I don't even get up until 9:30 usually, so.
Yeah, I know. This is tough.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Oh, my God. The Usher Center classes
So
start at
first, let's
9.
mix
It's like
mix colors.
some of them.
I need to turn this down, not just for them, but this is not trash. This is something we're going to use later.
Sorry.
You know, I gave you all a piece of plastic. Yeah, that's for later. I'm going to watch you too, because this is trash. What is this doing here? You haven't even used it. It's going to just throw it away.
Hell yeah.
All right, let me turn this down. This is not my favorite tripod. I keep my good one at home. Okay. All right, so if you have kind of a clean sponge, or you can do it with a light spray, it's a good idea before you start. Very just damp sponge. You don't want it wet. And you want to quickly dampen the paper you're going to work on. Quick, swish, swish like that, you know, and this already is at the sheen, between the sheen and the matte, and I want it between even matte and dry. But just so it's, sometimes some of the papers have a sizing on the top, and that helps take that off so the paper's all ready to absorb.
Well, see, I need to figure out a way to either borrow a spray bottle or use.
Do you go to the dollar store at all, sweetie?
Oh yeah, but I just didn't bring it.
Oh, okay. Yep, but what, you get a sponge or something?
No, don't have a sponge.
Okay.
I've got some paper towels.
That's
There
good.
you go.
Kind of
Just really lightly all over. Now you haven't taped down too much.
I do.
Yeah, you want to tape all around the edge, not too wet. That's good. You can
Take
feel
down
it.
the whole edge.
Yeah,
Whole
you
edge.
if you tape around the whole edge, it's going to hold it down. Now we're going to do little sections. If you want to section yours off,
Oh,
not if it's wet already, don't worry about it. But just do small example. I'm thinking because Dawn last week did this whole big piece of paper of the wash.
Nothing.
And she had this great wash on the whole sheet of paper. But if we're just practicing some little ideas. So, let me think. In our colors, which is on this sheet in color, we have our 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And within those, there is a warm and a cool of each. I think I mentioned last week. So in the yellow, you have lemon yellow and a cadmium yellow, which is more of an orange. I'll show you my palette. Okay. So I have the lemon yellow, which is a cool yellow, cadmium yellow, which is warm. See, it's closer to orange in the reds. Cadmium red is your warm red. Alizarin crimson is your cool red. It's toward the purples. Then your blue, the 2 basic ones are your ultramarine blue, which is cool, and your cerulean blue, which is kind of more greenish.
And you're gonna talk about transparent and opaque, right?
Yeah. So within those are the colors on here, on this chart. And then as we mix 2 of those, you choose any 2, yellow and red are going to be orange, red and blue are going to be purple. Blue and yellow are going to be green. So you can mix your colors. You don't need to buy tubes of green and tubes of purple and all this, because they're very mixable. And then adding, balancing that off a little differently, you can get tertiary colors and all sorts. Whoops. I want to show you, there's a fun thing to do, that you can mix. I was supposed to have opened this already, bad me. You can mix colors, and often start with, this is what this chart is for. This is just an example.
oh,
Did you see this one? So you start with like lemon yellow, and you're going to go across, and you're going to add, I'm going to go down. Lemon yellow mixed with each of your other colors. Lemon yellow with one, with the red. So lemon yellow with a cadmium yellow, lemon yellow with a cadmium red, lemon yellow with the alizarin crimson. And then you'll end up making a chart, and you can see all the different, I'm going to stick this into the video.
Ooh, wow.
So this is one of my students. She loves finding out, it's Beth, I don't know if you know Beth, but about color. And it gives you, if you practice a chart like this,
Yeah.
it will help you learn so much about mixing colors.
I could put that on my wall.
Oh, man.
Piece of
Right?
work.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
And
pretty.
this is only one of hers.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
she did pages and pages of this,
my
and
goodness.
she focuses on different brands and what
Oh,
basic
interesting.
pigments are used in them. Some of your paints are a single pigment, and some paints are 2 or 3 pigments.
Interesting.
So when I let her do the research, if I have a question,
Oh,
I ask
yes.
her. I don't have to do it too. So let's kind of play a little bit with that aspect. If you have, this is just to give you an idea. You can draw your own on a piece of watercolor paper. So we're going to go into that. Let me just finish this. In your colors as well, once you mix 2 of the primaries, like mix red and blue to get purple. The complement of that color is the other primary. So you have red and blue, which make purple, red, blue, and yellow. So the yellow, after mixing the red and the blue, which is purple, is opposite on the pigment color wheel. So you mix yellow and blue, it makes green. The opposite of that, you mix two of the primaries. The other one that's left over is the complement. And that's with an E, C-O-M-P-L-E, complement. So when I say complement, that's what I mean, and I'll try to repeat it. Your warm colors tend to be the ones on the yellow side of the wheel, and your cool colors are the ones on the bluish side of the wheel. That's a generality. But then that's different from going back into the fact that there's a blue, I want to say blue here. This is in the red family, and this is in the red family. Yeah. Cadmium red, alizarin crimson. So here at the base, I have the warm and the cools of each. I just wanted to review that chart. Transparency, that I think, that wasn't on any of the sheets I sent out to you, I don't think. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
No, so I'll send that out this week. The transparent and the opaque.
It's just mentioned in,
It is mentioned in that one, thank
Yeah.
you.
just the transparent.
In the page of the, I don't have that.
Info basics, that just, you sent
Can I
that.
see that? Yeah. I think it was after that, here, up at the top. I have a T and an O. The T is for transparent, the O is for opaque. What that means, thank you very much, is watercolor is transparent, correct? But within your colors, if you take just a little dab of your lemon yellow, I get it out of my well here onto the palette, make sure it's mixed nicely, and put that, wait, before we do that, draw a line. If you have something to draw a line with, a pen or something, paint over that. The transparent color, mine's bleeding, that's great. You're going to see whatever is underneath through it because it's a very thin pigment. Can you not see? I'm sorry, my dear.
That's okay.
But if you take an opaque color, it has more,
Opacity.
it has, yeah, it's more opaque, so it's going to cover something a little bit more. One that's very obvious is the difference between ultramarine blue, which is transparent, and your cerulean blue, which is an opaque. So play with your three primaries for a minute and see if you can't tell the difference there. Here's
Looking
ultramarine
for the difference on
blue.
the transparency.
Yes, the difference in the transparency. It's not really necessarily super obvious. Even if you mix it on your palette, you can almost see the difference there. And this opaqueness and transparency is going to be very important when we start mixing the colors. Your transparent colors are going to tend to be very vibrant and clear. Your opaque colors are going to be more dull, more in your earth tones. When we start mixing, if you mix, like you're looking for a purple, I'll wait. You're still playing. I'm rushing ahead. Go ahead and play a bit. Just looking at the differences between them. Are you seeing it? You can almost tell even when it's in your palette, huh? You're not.
Yeah, it looks the same to me.
The opaque tends to sit more on the surface of the paper too, where the transparent colors look like they're almost dyeing, D-Y-E, dyeing the colors a little more. The paper, not the color. I need to get my brain and my mouth working.
It's overrated.
Allergies are, so don't fiddle too much with it. I made some notes here. Make sure you've mixed on your palette to dissolve any particles. You shouldn't have particles, mine does. But don't overmix. That dulls the color. Once you have that color, decide and commit. Put it down in as few strokes as you possibly can. Don't fiddle on the, you're gonna do your mixing on the palette and it's going over to the paper. Boom, get it down there, leave it alone. And I keep talking about how you and the watercolor are partners. I mean, it's sometimes when we start doing big washes and things, it's going to do what it wants to do. Your paper's still pretty
Right,
wet.
Mhm.
Yeah. You wet it a little too much. This is, at the beginning, just a damp sponge. I love it. Just swish, 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 just
Okay.
barely once
I
over
was afraid
quick.
it wasn't damp enough.
This is a clay sponge, right?
It is.
Yeah, I love clay too.
Yeah, I did pottery for a couple of years, loved it.
I wanted to always do pottery, but then I thought, no, it's another thing. But then I started teaching high school and they had a wheel and a kiln. I'm like, I guess I have to learn how to do this.
Yeah, someone forced
And I fell in love with it. I love pottery. I love working with the clay in your hands.
Yeah.
You got all your colors to see how they're working?
Oh, were we supposed to do
Yeah,
all
play
that?
with all your colors.
Oh, okay.
This is, I'm going to bring this closer.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay, let's see.
decide which is your dirty and which is your clean.
The big one's the dirty.
There you go. Winsor Newton is a great site, keep playing while I'm talking, for finding out information about things. They have a whole segment on pigments and they go into the history of them. Where do they find these pigments? How do they, prepare them? I went to the National History Museum in DC once. I mean, I've been a couple of times. But one time I went in specifically and I went to the geology
Yeah.
part. And all those stones, originally, this was all stones.
So much fun.
Lapis lazuli originally was what they used to make ultramarine blue. During the Middle Ages, it was more valuable than gold
Yeah.
because it was so hard to find back then.
So beautiful.
Now we use a lot of synthetic pigments. But if you look at your yellow ochre, you look at your burnt sienna, there's soil around here that is pure burnt sienna. I make my own pastels. I'll go and I do a suspension to get the heavy particles out, keep the lighter particles, dry it out, mix it up, and make pastels out of dirt. Because that's originally what it was. A lot of this is just highly processed dirt.
That's so cool.
The purples come from originally, and I can never say, I want to say cochlear, but it's not that. There's a beetle that they use the shell of the beetle
Oh, yeah.
to grind it up and make the pigment.
Yeah.
So that's why you get the settling out and the particleization, is because that's what's in there. In the paint, it's a suspension, but it's, as I was saying earlier, watercolor is your pigment, your pure pigment, mixed usually with glycerin and honey and some other stabilizers. That's all it is. And you mix it with water and play. How are your colors coming? Nice. Yeah. Can I
Sure.
make a suggestion?
Yep.
Like you were just putting that down. I'm going to do this one because you got lots of this.
Okay.
I'm going to grab some. Looks pretty good. My brush. And then, done.
Ah,
The big one's a dirty one?
yeah, big one's dirty.
Okay. So just, instead of like fiddling at it, just get it right in there. This is nice, but the yellow is weak. You need more pigment.
Okay.
I'm giving you an idea. What kind of paper?
It's, this stuff.
Fabriano. Yeah, and it's working well for you. Yeah, Fabriano is a good paper. You're very wet.
I just sprayed it,
Okay.
because I forgot to spray this part.
You might blot it a little
I
bit.
got some.
I did, while you're playing still, I picked up a piece of paper towel here. This is Bounty. I think it's what's out here too. This has a print on it. If you use this and lift it, you're going to get the Bounty print.
Interesting.
So I tried it, like Viva has no print, but it's a different texture. Every type of paper towel has a different texture. Napkins, dry, you're going to get a crinklier thing here. You're going to get something softer. You can use toilet paper, you know, very soft. So play around with that. I mentioned that. That's why I have a whole bag of different paper towels. I think looking at it, if you put it down thick enough, you can see the difference between transparent and opaque. Pretty comfortable with that? Now we're going to mix our primaries. Let's start with our lemon yellow. So you get some, oh, mine's nice and thick and fresh. And I'm going to put some on my palette. I'm going to rinse my brush, clean it off, get some clear water, and I'm going to pick up my purpley red, my ultramarine red, just a hint of that. And where my lemon yellow is, I am going to start, watch what I do. I don't go into the middle of the lemon yellow. I start at the edge. I'm going to put some down here, and then I'm going to slowly, that purple is going to take over that yellow so quickly. I'm going to get some of that purple off my brush, and now I'm going to start at the yellow and pull the purple into it slowly until I get a color that looks pretty consistent. And then I'm going to lay that down on my paper. Now, because these two colors are almost opposites, because the complements are yellow and purple, and this is a very cool red, you're going to get more of a grayed color, right?
Now, I'm not sure I'm understanding. You said to put the,
No, you get it. That's good.
purple
Wait,
in,
is that purple? No, you use this brown, right?
yeah, I used the brown.
Yeah.
I was
So-
still piddling.
Yeah.
But I've got purple on my brush now.
Yeah, keep that over there.
Keep it here, just like,
Yeah, I'll put it down. Just kind of lay it down. See how I'm twisting to kind of clean it off?
yeah.
Now, whoops, with the clean, get some yellow, and we're going to be mixing them. I'm going to put some here, and then I'm going to grab just a little dot of this and mix it.
Okay. I'm still getting this.
Well, it's close.
Yeah.
But play with it so you can see. Is that me or is that you?
That was me.
Okay.
Thought I muted it.
No. I think that's what my timer is, so. So that kind of made it yellow, right? So now let's try that same lemon yellow, but let's mix it with your ultramarine blue. So because the blue is so much stronger than the yellow, you want to start with the yellow and add a little touch of blue into it at a time. Because otherwise, the blue is going to take over. So often you start with your lighter color and add the darker color into it.
So you start with the blue,
Start with the yellow, the lighter color,
the yellow.
and then put that down. This is my my lemon yellow with my ultramarine blue right there, that green. Look how spring green that is. It's bright. It's pretty. Now next time
And the
make
ultramarine blue is this
Dark.
one,
Dark.
the dark blue.
That one.
That
Yeah, just a touch of that and mix it into on your palette. You want to be mixing it on your
Oh,
palette.
okay, that's,
Like this. Like get some of your yellow, bring it up here.
oh, okay.
Then I clean my brush quickly and then I add a little bit of that blue in there.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead and
just-
mix it in. Now put it on your paper. Oops. Yep, try not to be sketchy, try to be brushy. Like this. Just this isn't a pencil. This is so you wanna feel the flow of that brush. How did you do with that? How is that coming out?
Evergreen.
Yeah, and if you add more yellow, it'll be more on the yellow side. If you add more of the blue, you'll be more on the blue side. So you can start with 4 parts yellow, 1 part blue, more or less. You know what I mean? A lot more yellow, a little blue. Half and half. What is that going to look like?
Yeah.
You know, more blue with just a touch of yellow. What is that going to look like? And that's how you come up with that chart.
Yeah, that's neat.
And you learn about mixing color. Let's try our kind of purpley red, right? You get your purpley red, and we're going to mix that with some of the ultramarine blue, which is that darker purpley blue.
Okay, and what's a purpley red?
Magenta,
Alizarin crimson and magenta. It's not the cadmium one.
Ah,
and the ultramarine blue.
Being very frugal with your colors. See now, it's almost blue, so you're gonna add a little more of the purple.
Just
You
saying.
you can pull it out from there actually.
Okay,
What I would do is just drag it over.
okay.
Drag them together. Yep, and drag a little more. Yeah, see? Now mix kind of in this area. A little more of the purple.
Oh, that's nice.
And now put some on the paper. Nice stroke. Anyway, just see how it see? Very purple, very nice.
Very nice.
You're very thick. Add more.
Yeah.
A little more water.
Mine is kind of like, is it, I don't know what
Yeah, that's just add more water. Oh, it's dry. Why is it so dry? May I?
Sure.
It's too much water. That balance. This point, I would do a mist.
Mist. I can mist.
Missed it. Missed it. Okay, remember the how are we doing? Can I move along?
Yep.
All right. We had the ultramarine blue with the lemon yellow. Those are 2 transparent colors. Right? So I am going to take my cadmium yellow, that's the orangey yellow, put it on my palette.
Let's see, do I have that?
You know, we don't have all these colors.
I've just got the plain yellow.
Yeah,
I've got cadmium yellow instead of lemon yellow.
and I have lemon yellow.
That's almost more of an ochre, actually.
Yeah.
But try that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else need some?
I've got cadmium, I don't have lemon.
And what are we mixing that with?
I've got lemon if you want it.
Okay.
You want lemon.
Let's mix this with, because we did the lemon yellow before. Let's mix this. I'm coming over in a sec, Chris. With the ultramarine blue.
Okay.
And what do you think's going to happen? You're mixing an opaque color.
Now the
With a
ultramarine blue
transparent
is
color.
the dark blue.
Yes. this is not gonna work, I don't think. What is this? I tell you, my mother had some colors.
Good for her. I got green.
That looks like a greenish ochre. I don't even know what that color is. No, and I don't have my tubes with me, but I can do this.
I got kind of an army green like that.
Right? It's more opaque, right? It's more of a grade
Great.
opaque color.
Yeah.
No, I do have the cadmium.
No, you've got lemon.
That's lemon and that's cadmium.
Oh, you do have,
I borrowed-
okay.
Yeah, I borrowed the lemon from her.
Oh,
We share.
I was gonna bring some over, but that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Now, I'm not doing this methodically. We're just kind of jumping around. That's why if you can do a little chart at home and do it step by step, you know, this lemon yellow with cadmium yellow, lemon yellow with cadmium red, lemon yellow with alizarin crimson, and go through it and see what different things you get. Let's try two opaques, like your cadmium red, and we mixed it before with ultramarine blue, right? No, we used the alizarin crimson. Try cadmium red and mix it with your cerulean blue. That's the lighter greenish blue. Those are two opaque colors. So again, on my palette, I put them in puddles side by side. See my two puddles right here? And then I pull one into the other. So if I have to, I don't have to go back to my well and muddy it up. I can just kind of mix a little bit more and go like, okay, that's too blue. I add a little more red into it. And I can play with those. So I have a red dot, a blue dot, and the mixture dot. Kind of all flowing together. See how? There. And then I put it down and see what it looks like. Better strokes on that, Mary. Yeah. And you need more paint. See how thin it is? I mean, if you want light, that's good. But to see it, and you've got too much paint, but you get it. Right, and then you can mix them kind of together here. You can see why, it's interesting, my palette comes with a cover that can be used as an extra mixing area, which is really
I think I
great.
got a room.
Yeah.
But there's other things you can use. You can, Chinette plates work great. Don't they have the platter ones, you know,
Yeah,
the
they
big?
do.
I know Cheap Joe's has the porcelain ones, but those are expensive and they're heavy. They're great if you just want to keep them at home. But
Yeah.
yeah, a
Definitely
little
need
more
more.
water. May I?
Sure.
Yeah. It kind of humidifies the air around your paints too. This I don't think I got at the dollar store. I think these are like a Walmart in the travel section.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Right?
where I got mine. Yeah.
And Walgreens.
Walgreens, Target, anything like that. Travel section.
Yeah. Hair.
And they make very different sprays. There's also a great one that's an atomizing spray, but you can get that on Amazon, but it costs a little bit more. Okay. How we doing? There's the time. I keep my computer open. I can see the time.
Ta-da.
Nice. Ooh, keep playing.
Oh.
What are you stopping for?
Wait,
My goodness.
because I was daydreaming.
No, yeah, okay. You kind of know what combinations you've made. And making a little chart like this for yourself, you can write down what combinations this is and that is, and so you learn. Then when you go to paint, you know, mix paints, you're pretty much set to go. Nice. Yeah. See, you're a teacher. You know what to do. A teacher teacher, no, we're the best researchers and organizers ever.
Yeah, but I was just a gym teacher.
Oh, but still, you know, you have to do your whole syllabus. Did you have to fit the Common Core?
No, I haven't been teaching since '82.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it was phys ed, so you know.
yeah, they still have this Common Core.
Yeah,
I don't think teachers develop the Common Core.
I know,
They
they
just-
know. Teachers never develop the anything.
No.
They're handed it and then look like idiots.
I was teaching an amazing Sisters of Mercy private school. And a third of the students were on scholarship and from overseas and different things. It was great. And then you had these, you know, entitled kids. And they weren't directly under the church. They're kind of off to the side. But they, the last board, because it had been developed by the nuns, the last board did not have a single educator on it. It was just all CEOs
Oh, yes,
and lawyers. And they
Yes.
started looking at the bottom line.
yes,
3 years later, the school was closed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Funny thing,
yeah.
man.
It's
Yeah.
amazing what they do at the university level.
The first
too.
year they were there,
It
they
just-
got rid of their best, most expensive teachers.
Mhm.
Yes.
That was the school.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that brilliant?
Two of the teachers sued the school and they
They didn't prevail.
Quote from a school board member at a school board meeting in the upper middle class town that I taught school in. Are we gonna allow these teachers to tell us how to educate our children?
Yeah,
Apparently
a
not.
board member.
That was about 2 years before I left.
Yeah, I bet.
yeah.
I know, what can you say?
You just
You
stand
need
there with
some
your mouth open.
whiskey.
Exactly. You're just. It's like
Bourbon, you're in the South now.
Yeah.
I love bourbon. I want to do the
Me too.
bourbon trail.
Yeah. I like it too.
Can't find anybody serious enough about it to do it with me.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'll talk with my wife. She's done it 3 times and she's a Maker's Mark ambassador.
Oh, really?
Oh, she is.
She loves bourbon.
Oh, I love bourbon
Where's
too.
the bourbon trail? Where is it?
It's up in
Tennessee.
Tennessee, up through Tennessee. Woodford's
Bardstown.
Woodford's Reserve is my one of
When
my
you're
favorite.
doing that, be
Woodward's
sure to go
Reserve,
by the,
double oaked is my favorite.
Yeah, double oaked if I can afford it. I usually can't afford it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Colorette.
when you're going on the bourbon trail, be sure to check out the, Corvette Museum.
Oh, what fun.
A few years back, they had a sinkhole open up under that museum.
Whoops.
Oh my God.
And it totally wrecked, like 20
Classic.
cars.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
And they've restored the most of them, but they walled off a part of it that you can still look down in the hole and see one of the cars down there.
Oh my gosh.
Something I was
Wow.
listening to on a podcast, a history podcast, was in San Francisco when they had sinkholes. They were throwing wood stoves in to fill them up. Not sinkholes, potholes, sorry.
Wow.
Because they had so much stuff and not enough people. And they needed to make repairs, so they were just throwing junk in.
Wood stoves, junk.
The
Okay.
wood, yeah.
Wow.
This was
Try.
a long
Oh, go
time.
ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Now try one of your browns.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
browns.
sketching again.
Oh, God.
You want to feel like you're washing the floor.
Oh, God.
This is
Washing the floor.
Washing the floor.
That's something.
well, I don't know. You know, if you have one of those old rag mops,
Mm-hmm.
you don't do little unless you're scrubbing. We don't want to scrub.
Pretty.
Try one of your opaques. Mostly you just have the burnt umber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with cerulean blue. That's the lighter blue. Cerulean blue onto your palette. Fairly decent amount, fairly wet. You don't want it to be thick. You want some good wetness in that. If you don't want to add too much water, just touch the tip of your brush to the water and it will soak up a little water. Then go into clean your brush, go into I'm going to use burnt sienna, and you don't need as much. Put that beside it, and then I'm rinsing my brush again, and then start blending them together. This makes one of the most beautiful grays you'll ever see. There's one. I'm going to add more blue to this one.
It is a pretty gray.
All right, this is going to be following the page I didn't print up. Or I did, I printed up for you. This page.
Oh, okay.
This one. This page. Yeah, I'm gonna play around with it. Now I've gotta go find it for me. Oh good, I just closed my file. Well, let's see, no, you've got it. We did wet and wet. We did a flat wash, same color all the way down. It's good to kind of dampen, not wet, but dampen your paper before so it's in the matte area. Then a flat wash. We did a graded wash, which starts strong color at the top and you add more water to get it lighter as it goes down. That's a graded wash. What's the next wash?
Wet on wet, dry.
Wet on wet, we tried that, right? We did some color and dropped in another color while it's still quite wet. I keep using, I don't know why I keep using yellow for my examples. And that will cause those blossoms, and learning how to control those blossoms at different levels, you can get some wonderful techniques. The next one is
Dry brush.
dry brush. We'll come back to dry brush. Well, no, let me explain. Dry brush is just basically, your brush is dry. Your paint doesn't have much water in it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. And you'll often get the bristles of your brush will be splaying out because they're dry. This is great for textures. I did some right here, you'll see on the video. So that's dry brush. You get sharper, cleaner lines because there's not much water there for it to bleed out. I don't know why we say bleed, but that's one of our technical terms.
Is the paper wet?
Dry.
Dry.
So if you want a sharp line of something, like you have a sky behind and you want to put some grass, like seagrass on a dune coming up, you have to wait for the sky wash behind to totally dry. So you're going to put dry paint on that dry paper at that point. I often have 3 to 4 paintings going at the same time because when I get painting and I'm creating, I want to keep moving. And if I have to wait for this to dry for 20 minutes, it's going to drive me crazy. So I've set that to the side and let it dry, and I work on another painting, you know, and then I set that one aside. So that's why I have multiple boards.
So I've just got to try something here. Yeah, okay.
So that's dry brush. What's next?
Good.
Those are all the techniques there, and then there's special techniques.
Sure, special techniques. Thanks.
The lifting color.
Oh, lifting. All right. Lifting. I'm gonna get my big wash brush here. And since I have a lot of paint on my palette, I'm just gonna pick up something that's there. But I want it fairly thick. I want a good amount of color. And I'm gonna paint that down, and then lifting, there's a number of ways to lift. I can take, this is a wet brush, I'm going to just lightly, so it's damp now, it's not wet, and I'm gonna take this brush and I'm gonna drag it across the paper and twist. So I'm gonna kind of twist it as it's going up. So I twist across
Across what you've already painted.
the wet, and I just lifted some of that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
See how it's lifted? You still see a little of that original color, but it's not all there. That's a lifting.
So you have nothing on the brush.
It's a clean brush, but it's damp. So it's acting like a sponge, and by twisting it, it creates different surfaces of the brush to pull the things
But
up.
the paint has to be not totally dry, just almost dry.
somewhat dry. It's usually, it depends on the paint. Now you're getting into other areas, yes. Sometimes you can lift if it's totally dry. Greens don't like that. Green.
Ah,
This is great for clouds, bushes, anything you need some different textures for. I'm going to do it again. Lay down a wash, clean my brush. This is for the video. Dampen it, twist across, and lift. There's a lifting color. And then I can take a paper towel, crumple it up, blot once, and lift. You have a nice texture. If you keep doing that, like this, you're going to lose any texture. Ta-da! Stamping is kind of cool. You have a paper towel you just used to blot. So if you have some paint somewhere on your palette that's a good amount of paint that is still quite damp, you can take a paper towel or a sponge or anything like that, blot it down into that puddle, take it to the paper and just set it again, press and lift, and it should give you a nice gentle texture. You need a little
Is
more
the sponge pre-wet?
damp again.
Damp.
Yeah. The more, if it's wetter, it's going to blend out. Yeah. If you want that texture, there's that balance of damp. And you can see once you use the paper towel for that, the paper towel is all soft and you're not going to get a cool texture. So you need a fresh, dry section of paper towel. And that worked a little better. You can do the same with, say, natural sponge or a regular sponge.
That's fun.
And you're stamping.
Yeah.
You know, the natural sponge is great for bushes and things. Gives you a really cool texture. And then you have to wash it.
Very cool texture.
The other thing on the paper is splattering. Not everybody has a toothbrush, is that correct?
That's good.
I've got
I do.
Okay. Toothbrush is my favorite thing to splatter with. Next week we'll do salt. That takes a little longer. Salt takes waiting. So for splattering, you can do it with a round or a calligraphy brush. You dampen the brush again. You get a good amount of kind of wet paint. That's not enough. Check it out on your palette. You're using your palette to figure out if it needs more paint. Does it need more water? I'm mixing it here. Is it flowing nicely? Yep, it seems to be flowing nicely. Now this can get messy. You want to keep it close to the paper and you're going to tap the brush back here. And it splatters out. This particular way of doing it is pretty uncontrollable. No, that's a toothbrush. I was doing it with this. A toothbrush, you want a stiff brush. The soft brushes don't work as much. You dampen it again because it's not going to hold the paint if it's not damp. So I dip it in the water. I blot it off. I get some paint into it. Then, watch. I twist it this way. And I run my thumb across that, pointing it down at the paper. And it's going to give you a very different splatter from the brush splatter.
finer, yes.
I guess it would give you more little beads.
my practice paper. Once it's dry, I'll just go over stuff I've already painted, you know, to have a good idea. After you've played around with that a little bit, go ahead and take one of your brushes and practice some of the brush strokes we did last week. You know, you've got your wide brush that does a nice wide mark. Actually, we're going to be using this brush more today. But-
And that is which one?
Just your round.
Oh, okay.
But so you're more comfortable with these again, practice that. Try the little very tip, press and tip. Remember we did the bird last week? Way up on the tip, press it down, swish it around. Do that a few times. We're doing exercises to warm up our hand in the brush strokes. And then, I didn't do any scratch. I'll do that next week. Those are extra technique. Salt,
That's cool.
card, scratch.
I did a splatter and then I squirted it with a mist. And it went, "Ew."
Oh, nice. Let me see.
That was a toothbrush splatter, that was the
Yeah.
paintbrush splatter, and then I did
Look
paintbrush
at the
splatter.
paint in the light. Look how much water you have in the light. It's really wet.
Yep.
Try not to do quite so much because it's apt to like bleed it all.
Everything together, yeah, loses all its definition.
Exactly. Yeah, you can. I'm sorry. I'm going backwards now. I'm gonna do. You can do a wash, flat wash of a color. Where am I gonna put this? What am I doing? Okay. Flat wash of a color. You can also take your spray bottle, wait for this to get to the sheen or the matte stage. I practice to see what my spray is doing, and then I just lightly, one time, spray over that flat wash, and I have like snowflakes.
Oh, there,
Right here,
Nice.
right here. Right?
Fun, yeah.
So that's a nice one too. Very useful. Again, like blotting, you can't do blot, 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 blot. You can't do spray, 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 or you're just going to end up with a big whoosh of.
Oh, cool.
And that's timing again. This one is really time. Wait until we do salt. Salt is so timing. I am now backing up from my thought of going into the flowers. I want to. If you have a section of your paper. You're running out of paper because I was going to do some painting. Do you have a second paper you can use after we? Okay, but not right now. Take some of your two or three favorite colors that you've been blending, your rock colors. You know, maybe some cerulean blue. You put it in your palette. Good amount. Check to make sure the flow is good. You know, good balance of water and paint. Grab some of your brown. Get that in the palette. Nice flow together. Mix them together. Get a good swash of it and have your plastic nearby. Good swash of it on your paper. Like that, I've got a good swash. And then as soon as you can, wrinkle up some plastic and set it on top of there.
Plastic rears its ugly head, okay.
You will see a texture under there. There's the texture. Camera. Showing the camera.
Let's see.
And you need to leave it
How much of
alone.
a blob do you put?
Oh, good size blob, you know, about
Okay.
that size.
Okay.
See the texture? Then we have to wait for it to dry. If you lift this too soon, you're going to lose the texture. I'll tell you, it takes longer when there's an acrylic backing than if you have a wood backing. And then we're just going to leave that alone. This makes rocks magically. You don't have to paint all the cracks and everything in it.
Oh,
It
that's
does it
cool.
for you.
Oh, look at that.
But now we have to wait for it it to dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Or
cool.
we'll
though.
lose it. And the way to check is you can lift a corner. If you see the paint still move, it's not ready to come off. So if you lift it and you see the paint move, it's not ready. If you want something darker, just a little extra here, you can take a bamboo brush, fairly wet, with a darker color, and find a spot where you can sneak some paint in. Pretty wet. This will show up better on the video. And that will kind of follow the crinkles of the plastic wrap, and kind of follow along, make longer lines.
Nice.
Again, resist the temptation to put it off.
How much you crinkle?
Nice.
Well, it depends. You can crinkle at different amounts
In different ways too.
and in different ways. And actually, once you get it down, you can, like sometimes if I want long striated rocks, I'll kind of stretch it out like that and put it down. Sometimes I'll crinkle it. My mother used to do it, so she'd put it down. She'd move it so
Oh,
it
yeah.
created lily pad shapes, and she would use it for her lily pads.
Oh my.
She was excellent, beautiful lily pads. Yeah, sit down, leave it. Yay! Untouched.
Fun, huh?
Cool. Is it coming?
I must have sandstone, it's light.
Okay. Oh, sandstone. There is a town. There's gray, there's that color,
There's
tan and
pink.
stuff. There's pink. I was in southwestern France with a friend, and we went into a town, and their sandstone is this color.
Oh my.
The whole town from that region was a golden
Oh
stone
my.
town. I'm like, this is my
Must have
town.
been beautiful in the sunset too.
Oh,
Oh my
just-
God.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love Europe. My friend's over there right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yay! What a beautiful picture. And I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Know those inks well.
I want to be there. I have one friend in Scotland, another friend going to Scotland. She's in Portugal this winter. Somebody just came back from it. Neighbor went to Japan. I said, how is Japan? She said, I don't like the food. That's all she said.
Oh.
I'm like, that's what
Do not like the food.
she tends to be a little bit of a complainer. So I was just like, I'll leave her alone.
Japanese food is pretty good.
Well,
I don't know what she got, but she didn't like it.
She
Real
probably got
seafood. and
real
sushi
seafood,
and-
yeah, real.
Real
Sashimi
seafood,
or
a lot of
something,
and if
yeah.
she doesn't, but you're going to Japan, what do you think you're gonna have?
Yeah, right.
Oh. Okay, so that's on another sheet. See how my splatter got away from me? It's on my other sheet of paper. I don't worry about it. You try to clean it up. Sometimes it makes more of a mess. So I'm just gonna say it's background,
But
texture.
Have I got enough to make a splatter here? I like to keep everything from today.
Sure, go right
So,
ahead. You want to try the splatter?
Yeah.
Here, and I'll get you. Susan's got my toothbrush.
Right there. Sort of clean.
Yeah, I didn't bring
Sort
it.
of.
I'll go bring one next time. So,
A
let's see.
firm toothbrush,
Okay,
which
now
I don't
That's-
buy. I haven't bought
that's
firm
my
toothbrushes.
That's mine.
That's yours.
Right.
Okay, what I do is,
I'm glad
So
you're
you
keeping
take
track.
it. Dampen it.
I
with
never
the paper
borrow one
towel.
will under me.
Right.
I forget.
Except in painting where it's
This
just,
is fairly light, so I'm gonna pick
It's
this up.
yeah,
I'll
it
show you
is.
and you can do it after.
Because it's a shopping
So I get
opportunity.
And I'm gonna, I run this across like that, and you get your
Went back
fingernails
to
dirty.
Joe's
That's okay.
just to get a few things and I resisted it.
But we're artists, so we're good.
More.
You were good then. I wasn't that good yesterday.
Yeah, who cares? Anybody need more paper towels?
Yeah, one please.
Mary, how about you?
This looks like burled wood instead of.
I could use.
Oh, that's so cool though.
Well,
If-
see,
Thank you.
I've got two here though, so
Oh, you do, okay.
I'm probably good on that.
If
That's neat.
you've got a spot on your paper and you want to check out what a paper towel does, you put down a nice flat wash, quite damp, and we're going to lift. I got a particle in mine. Ugh. I'm going to take this, I'm going to press it down, not too hard, and lift it up. And look at that. It's the texture of
Oh, look at that.
the mechanical paper towel,
Oh, isn't that fun?
which you have to be aware of that
Let's see.
to see if it's going to work in your painting or
Okay,
not.
so,
Look how textured that is.
okay, now, do I use a plain paper towel?
No, I'm just showing that you want to, like, this would not leave as much of a texture, a mechanical texture.
Okay.
Maybe you want the mechanical texture. I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
You know.
I worked for a company
So-
that made non-woven textiles, and they had the screens that press those textures
Oh,
into
yeah?
the product.
What are they usually made out of?
Well, the
Is it a plastic?
non-woven textile can be any kinds of polyesters, cottons,
Oh, yeah.
just all kinds of fibers. And they spread the fibers out on these great big screens, and then they have these jets, high-speed jets that tangle the fibers together, and then it goes through, and you can press the
Texture.
texture into it. There were some that had teddy bears on them, and just all kinds of different things.
Oh.
Scott, you could press Scott into, or your names,
Yep.
logos,
Yep.
Oh, how
anything.
funny.
That makes
This is
sense.
This is the kind of stuff, right? This is the non-fab.
It can be,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like 5 meters across and however long you want it.
Wow.
I mean, the rolls
Yeah.
like
More teddy
this big
bears
around.
than the world needs.
Hey, teddy bears. I was at a mill in France, southwestern France, and my friend took me there. She'll take me places and not tell me where we're going.
How cool is that?
I know. We drove into this little town once, and it was the Dubreuil town. And they have these cabins that are all cantilevered slate stones. So inside the pitched roof,
Yeah.
there's no support. It's just the cantilevered
cantilever.
stone.
Wow.
And she didn't tell me, oh, there's a town with your name. And so one day we're driving around, we went to a walnut mill where they roast and grind the walnuts and then press it to get walnut oil, and it comes out like liquid gold. Oh, so wonderful. And another one was a paper making mill. It was
That's
an
pretty
old
cool.
water mill, and they made paper. And I walked in and I'm just melting. And again, when they're doing that and making real fiber paper, if it's rough, they'll just let the fibers settle on a screen, leave it to dry, so you get a very natural. So I bought like 10 sheets about this big. I still have some because I'm so
Yeah.
cautious about using. It was like €20 for like that many. It's like, thought I was splurging. Oh, but some of these processes are so nice. Let us. Want to paint something now? Am I?
Sure.
Am I on? Yesterday, I was recording an introductory something like how to tape, what I do when I tape my pastel paper to a board and I lay some things on it, explaining the reason why I do certain things. Got done. Went to transfer it to my laptop, to edit it. I took pictures. There's no video. I had it on the wrong setting. I was like, well, I'll have to do it another time. All right. Let's do some real painting here. No, you've been doing real painting. And before you paint, do think about these steps. And it's great to have a scrap piece of paper on painting that didn't come out. Your paper you've been working on today, turn it over, use that to practice before you put it on your serious painting. Practice any stroke. Check your color before you put it on here, because once it's on the big painting, you're kind of stuck with it. It's always good to do a double check first. What do you think's the easiest?
I think they're all fun.
Have you tried any of these?
Oh, the pictures, no.
But all of those are fun, right?
Yeah.
So if you have kind of a sheet, you could just practice this however you want. Let's try this irisy one here. That's pretty. Now, if you remember how we did those strokes last week, I'm going to use my round brush. I'm going to make a good puddle of paint I'm not really concerned about color right now. I'm just, my puddle of paint is fluid. It's looking nice. It's too dark. I'm gonna
How
pick.
much more time do we have? I wanna see if it's worth changing my paper.
It is.
11:23. Yeah, half hour. You can just practice some strokes
I
on
think
there
I'm
if you
going
want.
to
Yeah,
do
Mary,
that.
that's a good idea.
So what is the irisy one?
This one.
This
Blue
one.
Okay, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
good.
So we're using those kind of press and drag up. So you might, if you want to practice a mark on one of your other papers first, we're going to press and then lift and twist. Press and then lift and twist. Let me come around. Dawn's got this look on her face like, what the? How many times?
Just staring at the.
So I was just kind of press, lift, and twist. That didn't come out very well. Press, twist. Oh. That didn't come out well. See, this is why I practice
what-
before I go.
So what part of this are we doing?
Well, we're not doing that yet. We're
Oh, we're not-
practicing
we're
the
just
stroke first.
Practicing the
Because
thing,
we do the
alright.
press and then lift this way. No,
Oh.
that didn't work. This is why we practice before we do. I'm running out of paint.
Okay. I'll wing it.
But that's kind of the stroke
Now, the purple that we've got in this, is this opaque or more transparent? It appears to be pretty opaque to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is actually, it's a transparent.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
I just.
Usually when you mix a little water with it, you can almost tell here, as opposed to this, which is, you can, it's hard. I know by
Gotta learn what to think. of.
practice
Yeah,
of mixing.
what to look for.
Sound effects are very important.
I've got the dog, my friend's dog now, like, and she like stops. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't even say anything.
My cats do that too. It's
Yeah.
like, whoop,
Not that.
then they go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been with
Because
her for over a couple weeks alone now, and
You
we've
got
been
the
we've been
language.
working on things, and
Yeah.
she's doing pretty well. All right, so I've got a wet brush. I'm gonna press it and lift it. So then, when I do that, I'm gonna follow the direction on my serious paper. I'm gonna follow the direction of the petal. So say one petal is kind of fat, press, and it kind of lifts off to one side. And then the other one is up high, it presses, but it's not quite as big, so I'm going to press a little more gently and come up to the tip a little bit faster. This one, press and lift, press and lift. My online international school, I gave them some proposals and they finally said, okay, we took a survey and everybody wants rocks and water. I'm like, yes, I can do rocks.
So, the thick end is the press.
The thicker end and the
then you
rounder
kinda lift
end
and come
is
to the middle?
the pressed. So I pressed here and then lifted. For this one, I went this way. For this one, I pressed over here and went that way. Up here, I didn't press as much and came that way. So it's just the same.
Show me.
It's the
Yeah.
same stroke, but with
I
different
Kind of
pressure.
did some
Yeah.
press and lift and
But
twist.
you get sketchy again.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you a hard time about that.
that's okay.
So yeah, press and kind of lift and twist,
Okay.
and then you got to go back and get more paint.
And is this on a fairly dry piece of paper?
This is I'm on dry paper right now.
Ah,
That's all right. Look at the water. Yeah, but that's look nice.
Okay.
That's all. Ooh.
I've lost you.
I'm here. Nice. You can press a little more and lift a little more. Your marks are almost the same thickness throughout,
Yeah.
but it's very,
So-
very nice.
But you said press at the beginning will make it fatter. Maybe I'm using the wrong brush.
Oh,
Exactly, that's what I'm showing you. See the brush I'm using? So this one, which I need paint,
Sure.
because it's fatter, I can be up more on the tip and press down. I'm going to get a rounder, and then I can twist and lift, and it becomes thinner.
Okay. Therein lies the,
Yeah, a fatter, bigger brush.
ha,
You can,
kind of like my little ones.
well, for small petals it will work. You can almost do the same thing with your flat brush.
Yeah.
Let's see if this will come out. Probably won't even
Mine
come
didn't.
out,
I
you know.
tried that at home.
It's harder to get round
Yeah.
with the flat. So I'm thinking, I'm going to start at an angle. I'm trying to do this on the, so the camera can see it. Press it down, kind of twist it, then lift it up. Man, that ran out of paint really fast. If there's enough wetness